I'm at the Tate Modern, and even the entrance behind me as I come up to approach Leigh Bowery is looking fantastic, and that's what we're going to have a look at the moment. I'm seeing glitter, I'm beginning seeing sparkles, I'm seeing canvas of the 80s. I've just got this beautiful view, as you can see behind me, of some artwork here that I featured. I put that in the last video at the end. And let's have a look at this together. I'm really excited to have a look on, well, it's basically open weekend. So entering the Tate, I recognised this wallpaper immediately. If you would have saw my Fashion Renegade in the 80s, this is the same wallpaper it appears, which was on Leigh Bowery's flat. Now, there's lots of artwork that's made by people who was part of Leigh Bowery's life, as well as Leigh Bowery's work himself. This particular bit with the flats, East London, seeing the incense and the kind of knowing he was around Brick Lane, and the Indian references and Pakistani references that he had mixed with his queer culture, club kid life. It kind of has given me that kind of Boy George vibe actually, and seeing how they all would have been in the same circle. This one of Sue Tilley, one of the actual friends or closest confidants of Leigh Bowery, who I feel has been a major part of this show, that was an art piece of. And so all the references with Michael there, that is Michael Clark. I also found it quite eerie because I kept saying the name a lot, and my name's Michael, so therefore I kind of wanted to be like, my instinct was to respond. This was lovely to see of photos. It was some photos that were collected by Trojan, and that's Scarlett Cannon. She's been a lot in my videos recently, which is lovely to see, and how influential she was of that period. This would have been Leigh Bowery's, I think, pants that he would have sold, because it had his name in the back. And then I loved you kind of going into this kind of club kid vibe with spots. It was very fun. Very much enjoyed this kind of energy of it, to be honest. And just going around looking at the outfits, seeing how practical some of them were actually, in an odd way. I know when we're seeing it with a mask, but they had like hidden pockets, I noticed, including on the Dalmatian one when I went behind it, and thinking of being in a club, handing out tickets and stuff, but would you let yourself in? I liked that, where you could feel the judgment and self-judgment, making sure your outfit would have been enough to get through that door. I really enjoyed it because I was wearing a Vivienne Westwood top, and later on you will see with one of the videos, it's a Michael Clark company and Leigh Bowery doing the outfits, and it's a Vivienne Westwood top, the same one as I'm wearing actually, ironically, which I didn't know. So I was a bit like, oh, where's my top? Which was a silly thing, I know, but I enjoyed. Loved going around and looking at some of these actual pictures, and some of these people I've worked with in the 2000s, so someone like Princess Julia, who I've seen in the club scene, or ID magazine, seeing the vintage ones, and Boy George on there as one of the titles, and then going over to George Michael next, and the controversy of him doing poppers when that was just on an art piece that we saw earlier, and his kind of downfall with the media, which was sad. Son Galliano as a club kid, just seeing there all these other people who will go into a taboo reference now, where you see, for example, again Boy George, and here's a taboo club listing I'm about to show you, which I get really interested in, because I was playing like spot the person I've either worked with or just loved and found really cool for some reason. So there's some people that I was just like, wow, and that person's interacting with that person. So let you have a little ponder. I'm going to shout at some of my favourites, like Pam Hogg there. I was like, oh, it's Pam Hogg. Rosie Boyd, who I just bought a book of about her sitting for Freud, as I do enjoy Lucian Freud's work. Then to go along and see Dougie Fields, artist, Bella Freud, and is that Anne Lucian? I'm thinking, like, did he go along to it as well? That would have been a really exciting episode. I saw Karen Franklin there in the mix as well. That was Pam Hogg in a picture just in the background. Long-tailed fabulous woman. And these angel kind of wins that Leigh Bowery would have wore in that club setting, going into a kind of trippy reference of it all.
Well, I'm wearing a crop number this time, with a fabric face you might have noticed, and it has a star, a green star, or perhaps I like to call it a starfish motif, which is surrounded by sequins, which I'm using quite heavily this season.
Why don't you go and do something else to wow the customers?
What a good idea!
And I just enjoyed seeing this piece close up because it was all made out of hairpins, as you can see, and that they are actually individually put on. I looked to see how I done it. It was a kind of elastane that they would have threaded through and then gripped each one on, or fringing. I think that's more fringing actually, and gripped each one individually on. Imagine making that. That is Leigh Bowery looking fabulous in the piece, and movement, the gold. It is so fun. It kind of reminds me of Gareth Pugh actually. And then I'm going into this next room where I just like the spots, more of these kind of clothes, and I got pretty much lost in this room, not on the actual bits on display but in the videos. I really enjoyed watching a choreography of Michael Clark and how Bowery had worked. I didn't show it all because it's just too long, and also I want you to go to the actual exhibit, and this was the bit that I was saying where some of the clothes I've actually got was in this. I like that top there with a guy with a tutu, and it was just really, really fun. So by this point I felt like I should be having a glass or something and walking around here, but I did feel like I was in a club with a vibe. It was a beautiful view of London on the outside as well, which was just to my delight going there. And then looking at these ankle boots in clog shoes, I found that actually like, oh, we're walking in those. I wondered if they was glued down, stuck in, how did it work, were they comfortable? They would have obviously looked odd and fabulous, but at the same time I was thinking about the function, and you could see they were pretty worn and lived in, which I enjoyed seeing that, which moves on to the next actual part that I'm about to show, where it was an art project where clothes that were worn and then taken photograph were used to their depth, and I just loved this. It was more sustainable in a weird way with all the actual synthetic fabrics in the 80s, and it ever is now with fast fashion, because people are making, mending and really using it and experimental. And then going into this other room, I kind of had to rush so I could actually get to the end, because we were running short on time, and I definitely will probably come back to this exhibit to see that again. And then I saw Freud and was super duper excited, but I knew I was meant to go in that other room there in a sec, which felt more club-like. I kind of again just wanted to go back to a Freud, and I feel like Freud I could have done a video for you guys on itself, because the depth, the personality about it. But this room was fun as well, and I am not looking too happy here, but actually I was, trust me, I was just absorbed in it all. And of course the bit that I just really wanted to get back to was the Freuds. So that was Leigh on a green sofa, you had Freud over there. I've seen this piece before in another space, I can't remember where. And then looking at this one, the etching, it felt pretty dark. It had a very intense feel. It felt like it could be actually more in the Freud Museum. It felt more like a psychoanalyst painting rather than actually anything else, which I enjoyed. This one with Leigh's parts, it was called, but I like the softness in the hands, the flesh, not just the obvious body parts of the penis and genitalia. It was actually quite soft. image, and then this one was quite fascinating on the clothes, the paintwork, on the hard floor, the softness, why the bed sheets on the floor rather than being on the bed. And this one I found really sad and moving, and it doesn't help with the music playing in the background that they were, but it really made me feel sad because that's where Leigh had died and of AIDS, and he was unable to actually forge complete painting. This was one of the many settings that Leigh's done, and seeing Freud with him posing while they were actually in the studio space, I really enjoyed and thought that was actually quite wonderful. Actually, looking at the paint on the floor, looking at the famous paint on the wall of Freud, and I really got excited over these unexpected Freud beautiful paintings and pieces with such emotion. So I would definitely say that's worth going to see. I was in there for almost 2 hours and the gallery's about to close, so I've got to go, but I think I've got a Tate membership so I can go back and just go into a little more depth of the last two rooms. I did get really lost into the Freud work, which I loved. I felt I could just do that as a separate video in itself and really enjoyed it, and I hope you enjoyed watching this as well, and thank you for watching as always. Bye.